So surprisingly, they did release the second phase banners a little bit early, which is nice. They normally do that in Lantern Rite, but usually we're used to all of the banners coming out. But hey, we got the phase 2, so we can talk about these a little bit. TLDR, not great, unfortunately. So we've got Xiao and Yae Miko, and then the 4 stars are Yao Yao, Ninguang, and Xinyan. Xinyan is not a good 4-star at all. She's in fact one of the worst 4-stars. She's even still bugged, to my knowledge. She has a passive that allows her to get a stronger shield when she hits multiple enemies, and her passive reduces the number of enemies you need to hit from 3 to 2, but that doesn't seem to work, and it seems like it's been bugged basically since she's came out, and I don't know if they've ever fixed it. It's been over a year where they didn't fix it, so I don't know if they did in like the last year or two, but anyways, she's just all over the place. She's a mess. She's a physical damage dealer that scales off defense but also scales off of attack, and is a shielder but has like anti-synergy with superconduct, which is what you would want from a physical damage dealer. So she's just a hot mess. Not a good character to use unless you just really want to, and then you need really good supports like Bennett to just make her feel like she does anything. Ninguang is in sort of a similar boat. She really wants high constellations, particularly like her C6, or at least like C2. Otherwise, she is not really any upgrade over the Geo Traveler, and in a lot of cases, the Geo Traveler is still better than her for teams like with Navio or something like that. So, not really a very good 4-star either. And then we've got Yao Yao, who is actually a really good 4-star, but you don't need any constellations for Yao Yao. Getting her C0 is plenty. Her constellations are nice, and they definitely help her a little bit, but she's already so good at C0 that her constellations don't really do too much for her. They can make her heal way more, but she already heals a ton, so she doesn't really need them. Basically the opposite of most 4-stars that have been coming out recently that really want their C6, and their whole power and their kit is locked behind constellations, whereas Yao Yao is like, nope, most of her power is just automatic, and then any constellations you get for her, they're just nice. So overall the 4-star is not great here. And we got Yae Miko, pretty solid character, and then Xiao, also pretty solid character. Yae Miko can be played on or off field. She can be good in Spread, Aggravate, Hyperbloom. You can even use her with Cloud Retainer for some sort of Aggravate Plunge team, which is okay. And then we've got Xiao, very not free-to-play friendly character, but very strong. So these banners are pretty yikes. If you wanted Xiao or Yae Miko, I hope you get a lot of Yao Yao constellations and maybe Ninguang if you have Navia, but Xinyan on these banners is not great. Let's look at the weapon banner now. We've got Jade Wing Spear, Kagura's Verity, Stringless, Widsith, Lion's Roar, Lithic Blade, and Fav. This is pretty interesting. So of the 4-stars, we'll talk about those first. Stringless is pretty good. It's good for a lot of different characters. Great for Fischl, good for Tanari, good for Venti. So pretty solid bow. Widsith is a really nice catalyst for a lot of DPS characters because it gives you crit damage as a substat, and the passive is really nice, especially if you end up R5ing it. You can get so much extra bonus stats. The only problem is that it has a really long cooldown at 30 seconds, so it's only great for teams where you're doing something and you want to beat one boss or one round of enemies really fast. If you have to do multiple rotations with a Widsith equipped Catalyst character, the value of the Widsith drops a lot, but the crit damage is still pretty nice. Fav Lance, Favs are one of the best weapons in the game. Fav Lance is incredibly useful on so many different characters. It has a high base attack for a 4-star, it gives you energy recharge, and it has that lovely Fav passive. So that's probably the best weapon out of the 4-stars here. Lithic Blade is okay. There's not really many Claymore characters that want to run with all Leeway characters anyways. You could maybe try to force it with a Chongyun type build for the, or Gaming for the extra passive crit stats it gives you, but honestly Lithic Blade is not very good. And Lion's Roar is not particularly good either. Can be good on Ayato, can be good on Kaching, but it's overall kind of a weapon, pretty mid, not terrible, not great either. Now let's talk about the 5-stars, because these are interesting. Kagura's Verity for most Catalyst DPS characters just ends up being a stat stick, and it's pretty nice. Crit damage is nice, high base attack is nice, 5-star general stat stick is pretty good. Obviously very good for Yae, because she can best make use of the passive. Kagura's Verity is also like Nahida's second best 5-star weapon, so it is a very solid choice for her too, but you don't need to go for it. For characters like Nahida or Yae, if you wanted to wish on the weapon banner, and you got the Widsith for Yae, I probably would not go for Kagura's Verity at that point. Verity is better, but like if you have an R5 Widsith or even just an R1 Widsith, that's still pretty solid. And as far as Primordial Jadewing Spear, also very solid stat stick, high base attack at 674, gives you crit rate and can increase your attack and damage overall. So pretty solid, but you can also get that randomly from the standard banner, or if you were to lose a weapon banner that was not this one, you could randomly get the Primordial Jadewing Spear as well if you got an off-banner 5-star. Overall, not really a great weapon banner, but it does seem like it's better than the current one with Nahida and Xianyun. So if we now take a look at all of these, let's consider the overall value of these banners with the Nahida Xianyun banners, where all the 4-stars really want to be C6, the Xiao and Yae banners with bad like 4-stars and like Yao Yao, or not like bad, kind of useful but not really, in only kind of niche situations, and then Yao Yao very useful with kind of okay 5 stars, and then these two with one of the best characters in the game, someone who's pretty solid, and then some 2 generally good characters with not good 4 stars. Which one would I recommend? I think overall it would still definitely, like, if you're going to wish on these banners, you have to go for like Nahida if you're really thinking about the value of the overall banner, because the 4 stars on these banners are not enough to like overtake the value of Nahida herself. And even though all these characters really want high constellations, it's still better than getting a character like Xiao if you're free to play and not having any weapons for him, not having any good supports, whereas someone like Nahida can work with all the free characters really well. What's really interesting is they gave Nahida a really strange free-to-play trial with Barbara, Lisa, and Xiangling, so all characters everyone can get for free, and it just like, it dominates. It's very strong. And yeah, this is like, Nahida's still the best value, even though the 4 stars are not great. Because they're not great on the other side of the banner either, I still recommend going for Nahida, unless you just really like Xiao or Yae Miko. They're obviously good characters, but if you're trying to think about the most value, it's still Nahida, despite the 4 stars being kind of until they're C6. Weapon banner wise, it's definitely got to be the other one. These 2 catalysts are just like, they're okay, they're not great. All the sac weapons are alright, but not too many characters want all these sacrificial weapons. Whereas the 4 stars here can be used by a lot of different characters. Overall, I think Lion's Roar and Lithic Blade are like the weakest, but Fav Lance really good, Widsith quite good, Stringless quite good. The 5-star here are also stat sticks, but they're useful on quite a lot of characters, whereas the Xianyun Catalyst is not really good for anyone besides her, and Sucrose in a Xiao team. Other than that, not really anyone. And then obviously 1,000 Floating Dreams is good for Nahida, and Sucrose, if you're running her, like, you can use that on her as well. And there's some niche cases where you can use 1,000 Floating Dreams, but it's really not that good. So overall, if you did want to wish on a weapon banner because you just really want more weapons, I think second phase is much better. If you want to wish on the character banner to fill out your character roster and make better teams, then definitely go for Nahida. Yeah, generally the weapon banners are a giant trap, so I normally do not recommend going for the weapon banners because they are a huge trap, and you can sink so many of your primo gems into them. These weapon banners are not particularly great, but some people do want to wish on a weapon banner and they at least want to know which ones are better. So if you do want to wish on a weapon banner, then I would say second one would be a little bit better for you, because these 4 stars are a little bit more universally used. Overall, those are my thoughts on these banners. It really didn't change from like the 5-star recommendations the video I made a while ago on which character would be best for most people, but at least now that we get the 4 stars, we can really evaluate the value of everything, and it's still Nahida on top. Her value is just so good for so many people, and if this had really good 4 stars, like, I would say maybe reconsider. If it was like Yao Yao, Jingqiu, and Bennett or something, then this would be a much greater contention than like the Nahida banner. But as it stands, Nahida is still the best.